How's it going, my friends? Back with another video. And what's it been, like 3 months? Man, this has been a while since I made my last video. I'm feeling a little rusty, actually, in front of the camera. I had some motivation to flip it on and start talking about, a topic I'm going to get into. But I wanted to start off by saying thank you to everybody who's kind of just reached out from the channel, shot me emails, DMs, stuff like that, and said, hey, just want to let you know I miss your videos, and I just want to check on you and make sure you're all right. And guys, I can promise you that things really have never been better. Sarah and I are very busy. This year has been like, we thought we were going to, when coronavirus first hit, we thought we were going to get wrecked. But 2020 has really turned out to be like our busiest year. And 2021 is going to be just insane. So we haven't been doing a lot of stuff, got rescheduled to 2021, but we're doing a lot more backyard weddings, 40, 50 people, small venues outside, a lot of family shoots, a lot of engagement stuff. And, I took some time off from YouTube to kind of just get my head straight and wrap my head around what's been going on with this social media stuff. For me, I'm a very private person in general. I've never been like comfortable in the spotlight. And when I started this channel, I never expected it to be like, I'm pushing up against like 20,000 subscribers now. I never expected it to be that. I just wanted to talk about photography and, just share what I knew. And, after about 15,000 subscribers, things started to get a little weird in some aspects. Like, I don't know, some people started like prying into my personal business, and there's just a lot of weirdos out there. And when you get a profile of any size, well, not of any size, but once you start getting up in profile, I mean, 20,000 people, that's like a a small arena, I guess. Once you get that level, I guess there's just like weirdos that come out of the woodwork. And, I'm just trying to process exactly how I want to move forward, because I don't have like a desire inside me to become a big YouTuber. I just enjoy photography, and I do like talking about it and giving lectures. And on the other side of that too, like, it's very important to me that if I am going to make a video, it's important that it's useful, and it's not just, hey, I just need to get stuff up, I just need to get clicks, I just need to get views, I just need to crank out different topics. And that's just so uninspiring for me. Like, I just need something. If I'm going to talk about it, I need to be inspired, and I need to really feel like I need to share it. A lot of people have been asking me to comment about, I know there's a bunch of Z stuff going on now. It's like the Z5 and, different iterations of the Z cameras and new lenses coming out and stuff like that. And I just haven't been inspired to talk about it. So, as I've said before, like, I'm only going to make videos when I feel they're valuable to you guys. And I'm only going to make videos when I'm inspired to talk about it, because I'm just the type of person that I just don't like doing things unless I'm inspired. So I've been taking a lot of time to redirect the energy that I was putting into the creativity of making videos, and really just focusing back on our craft. In our weddings and getting back with our couples, it's very difficult to do full-time YouTube and full-time photography. It's like it's almost like I have like a bucket filled with creativity, and like I can only like distribute it in so many places before it's empty, and I just have to like be by myself and let it refill. So it was a much needed break. I don't know how often I'm going to be getting back into videos, but I just felt like I wanted to talk about this. Just let everybody know, hey, I'm doing great, and that I appreciate you guys checking up on me. And, talk about this topic today. So I wanted to talk about when to shoot wide and when to shoot tight. Okay, when we're going to use wide angle lenses and when you should use, portrait lenses, close-up stuff, longer focal lengths. I think this is really important for people to wrap their heads around, especially if you're new, but also this is more of like an intermediate, like high intermediate skill. I see a lot of photographers who actually are professionals. They make money, they get hired, and it seems like they haven't mastered this concept. And for me, it took me a while. And I gotta say, knowing when and why I'm using my wide angle lens versus my portrait lens has been one of the most important pieces of stepping up my whole galleries that I deliver to my clients. Now, what you have to understand is, well, first of all, if you haven't heard my other videos before, I shoot with 2 cameras, just 2 lenses on a wedding day, okay? I shoot with a wide and I shoot with a tight. Okay, right now what I've been using is a 28 and a 58. I just love those combos. I was using the 24 and the 50 or the 35 and the 85, but lately for the last like, I don't know, like 10 weddings, I've been using the 28 and the 58. So I have one camera with a wide angle and one camera with a portrait lens on it. And it's basically, there's a very specific reason I do it that way. It's obviously much easier if you just put a 24 to 70 and a 70 to 200. You got everything from 24 all the way to 200 covered. You know, why wouldn't that be awesome? Well, there's definitely a difference. When you're shooting with a wide angle lens, I have 4 different points here that I want to go over with you guys as to why you would want to use it. The first is context, okay? When I'm shooting with my 28, the idea is to give the viewer of this picture context. Give them a story. It's not an individual. Yes, I might be focused in on an individual person, but what it does is it creates a sense of a story, and I include other things in that frame, in that picture. It's not just one person. I might be focused on that one person, but I place that person in the context of a larger story. So I'm going to put a picture up right now. This one right here is a perfect example. These 3 kids were coming off right after the recessional, they're coming off the ceremony. They were walking down, and yes, I focused on this kid that's jumping right here, but it creates a context and a story and multiple things that you can look at to tell a wider story. So when I'm using a wide angle lens, the idea is to capture more than just one specific thing I want to isolate. And it really does step up your ability to like give a more interesting layered perspective. Like photographs can be layered. Like it's like a viewer will, pull up an image that's shot with a wide angle lens when it's done well, and they'll see something and they'll look right at that. And then they'll notice something else. And then they'll notice that maybe a third thing, and it'll kind of tie everything into a story. It's not about blowing out the background with the wide angle lens. It's about capturing a story in a frame. And really the wide angle lens is perfect for that because you can get in close to it and get multiple things. The second thing is energy. When I'm using a wide angle lens, I can get really close to my subjects. Now, I've said this in a few of my other videos. And this is a quote from, I can't remember who said it, but the closer you can get, the more you can feel it. And that is so true. I mean, physically, when I'm shooting, the closer I can physically get to my subject, the more that you can feel it. It translates into that photo. So obviously, when you're using a longer lens, the closer you get, I mean, the image is just going to magnify. You can't get too close. When you have a wide angle lens, you can really just get up close to that person, and you can actually feel the energy. And I don't know how that actually translates, but it does. You're actually feeling it more when you're looking at it. You're like, oh my God, that energy is kind of coming across. This is especially apparent on the dance floor. When I'm on the dance floor, I've seen other wedding photographers work, and a lot of them, there's obviously a lot of them that get on the dance floor, but a lot of them stand on the outskirts and they just kind of shoot into the crowd. I am actually on the dance floor. I go into the dance floor. I mean, I'm running around with my flash and my camera and just going around crazy, and I use a wide angle lens to get up really close to people, and that makes a lot of other photographers uncomfortable, like getting really into people's faces. But on the dance floor especially, it doesn't bother me. And the dance floor photos always come out so much more high energy because I am right there. A photo is a good translator. It can be a good translator of truth. Real truth in the scenario that was happening. And when it's done honestly, like you can't fake that. When you take a wide angle lens and you put it up close to somebody who's freaking out and having a great time on the dance floor, you can't fake that energy. It's real. So that's number 2 is energy, translating energy. If you want high energy photos, try using a wide angle lens and getting really close up to that person and getting those reactions. And don't be afraid to get close to your subjects or whatever you're shooting. Third is a feeling that you're there. When you're shooting with a longer lens, you just don't get that same feeling. Shooting with a wide angle lens, getting close to your subjects, and ideally incorporating multiple elements, multiple layers into the image, you get a real sense when you're looking at that photo that you're actually there, that you're somebody just sitting in the audience, in the crowd, wherever it was, and you're just seeing that thing like you were actually there. Getting a sense of personal, like really just being in that scenario, in that situation, comes across excellent with the wide angle lens. And I keep going back, the 28, I'm just so in love with it right now. I use the 28 1.4 E lens or G lens, whatever. And it's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful lens. I should probably do a lens review on it actually, even though it's kind of old. But it translates so well to, I'll go back through my gallery and I'll just get that feeling that I was actually sitting there watching it again, like I was even a guest in the crowd. So wide angle lenses, great for translating a sense of connection to the photo, or not to the photo, to the scenario or to the situation that you're shooting. And the last is atmosphere, okay? I always say this too, is when you're looking to shoot a photo that's really like, beautiful, and to capture a sense of the venue or the environment where you are, don't think of yourself as a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer or a people photographer. Think of yourself first as a landscape photographer, and then put people in your frame. So like when I'm shooting with a wide angle lens, and even with a longer lens, but wide angle specifically, and I have a couple that we're shooting, what I'm doing is I'm assessing the background, I'm assessing the atmosphere, I'm assessing the environment, and I'm looking for interesting, beautiful landscape shots, not even thinking about the people. And so like, whenever I have some time in between, the ceremony or, the portrait session or whatever, I'll just walk around the venue or wherever the wedding is, and I'll just see what I have. I'll look for interesting angles coming off buildings. I'll look for obviously trees or backdrops and things like that. And I just look at it from like a landscaper's point of view, and I say, what would just look good without people? And I find that frame, and then I just place my people there. And I focus on the background, and then just a focal point of people placed in the image. And so with a wide angle lens, it's great because you can get a sense of atmosphere and just landscape, basically, with a wide angle lens that you can't get with something, a lot more tight, or even a little bit more tight. I'm sorry. Tight, not wide. So context, energy, a feeling that you're there, and then atmosphere, okay? When I'm shooting with a wide angle lens. Now, if I'm going to go tight, which my other tight lens has been a 58 1.4 G lens, and I've done a review on that. You guys can check that out. It's just, I keep going back to the lens. It's so good. The main thing is isolation and separation. When you're using a portrait lens, the idea is not really context, okay? It's not really atmosphere, and you can obviously create different pictures with a longer lens that incorporate some of the atmosphere and maybe more of a story, but the idea is to isolate and separate your subject from whatever is going on. It's a very it's a very precision type shot with a portrait lens. You know exactly what you're focused on. The people who are viewing the photo don't really have to go through layers of it. I mean, you can make complicated portrait shots, but pretty much in general, when you're taking a photo with a longer lens, the viewer knows exactly what you're looking at. The viewer knows exactly what was focused on, what you should be looking at. It's not like a photo that they're going to get into and they're going to be like, oh, notice that, and then this, and then that, and bring it all together for a story. It's more like, boom, wow, that's the thing that they want me to focus on. So when I'm switching between my wide and my, tight, like I'm doing a wide shot, 28, 28, 28, of context, and then boom, a tight shot. A bride and the groom, exchanging rings. I have a wide shot. I get the officiant there. I get both of them with their hands, and then the bride starts to cry. Boom! I get my 58 out, and I focus real close in, and I get the teardrop or her wiping her eye or something like that. It's a moment that you're focusing in on with a longer lens. It's just a snapshot. It's like wide shot, boom, tight shot. Give context. wide shot, boom, tight shot. That brings the context in from the whole, story of the wide shot. You're focusing in on something quick. So isolation, separation. The next point is obviously bokeh. You're not going to get the same type of bokeh from a wide shot, no matter what you do. Or from a wide lens, no matter what you do. When I was first starting off with photography, I thought like, oh, I can use a wider lens like a 35, and I can just zoom with my feet and get the same effect as if I was using like an 85. It's not how it works. They're different lenses, they're different focal lengths, faces change, backgrounds change, compression changes. It's a completely different thing. So the bokeh effect, the really sweet fall off that you get from like a 1.4 longer lens, that comes from a tight shot. And it's more to enhance the beauty. The bokeh is a beautiful effect, and I see some photographers they try, because bokeh looks stunning. It really does. Sometimes people too heavily rely on that because it's pretty simple just to use, like a 70-200, put it all the way to 200, open it up to 2.8, stand a little bit back, and you got everything blown out, and there's a lot of compression, and it looks beautiful. It's kind of an easy way to make a beautiful shot, but if you're really precise about the way you use bokeh, you can really enhance your photos. So the distance you're standing away from your client, so say, I found like with the 58 1.4, there's a sweet spot about 6 feet away from the client where whatever you're focused on, the fall off into the background blur in the bokeh is just absolutely incredible. So if you want something that's super isolated with great creamy bokeh and all that stuff, you have to use a longer lens, and you have to kind of know that before. Like, okay, I want this photo to basically have nothing in the background. I want everything to fall off except for like the hands or the ring or just, the eyelashes, and a teardrop or something like that. You have to know kind of where you want to use the bokeh. And then the third, which I hope I can talk about this because it's kind of hard to describe, but highlighting beauty. That's the way I think of it, about using a longer lens. It highlights the actual beautiful parts of people, to me. Makes people look their best when you're using like a 58, 85, 105 maybe. 85 to 58, that's kind of like the sweet spot I've found. But it makes people's faces look really, really good. Good angles, you can even get lower. A lot of times it's not really flattering to shoot lower, like with a wider lens, but if you're using a tighter lens, it definitely does. And to me, when you're using a portrait lens, you're highlighting, you're dropping out everything else around them, and you're highlighting the uniqueness. If you can get this out of your client and you can create an atmosphere where they can be comfortable and real, you can really focus in on the things that make them different and not have to bring anything else into the frame or anything else into the story. It's pure emotion, pure people, just one person or one or two people together focusing on the uniqueness and the things that make them different. Portrait lenses are hyper focused on individuals. Like I said in the beginning, it's when a viewer sees it with a shot with a portrait lens, it's like, boom, I know exactly what I'm supposed to look at. So those are the two differences, guys. That's why I carry a 28 and a 58. Just remember, you got to know when to use these two lenses and these focal lengths. Don't just rely on a longer lens that's going to blow out the background and try and shoot everything with that. Really focus on the story with the wider lens. Bring multiple elements into the frame. Have one specific subject, but look for ways to tie in the frame of what's going on. If you want energy, get closer. One area that I love to use wide angle lens is, right when they're just married and they're walking out of the church or wherever they did the ceremony. They're just married. They're so happy. Usually the bride's like throwing her, flowers up in the air and they're just like freaking out or whatever. I'm up close to them and you can feel the energy. Like I said, on the dance floor too, I'm really up in people's faces. A feeling that you're there. Atmosphere. Remember, you're a landscape photographer. That just puts people in. And then with a tight portrait lens, you're going for isolation, bokeh, beautiful fall off, and highlighting individual aspects of that person. So when you're shooting with these two focal lengths, try it like this. Wide shot, you get context with the wide shot, and then boom, something tight to tie it all in. Wide shot, tight. And then you're going to have, at the final gallery, you're going to have more of a story where people are looking through it, they see everything that's going on, there's stories with the wide shots, and then boom, something tight that really hits them. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope this was a good video. Hopefully it was helpful. And yeah, to all the new people that hit subscribe, I appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Any other video requests, things you guys want to hear me talk about, just let me know. And until the next video, my friends.